So I think we'll carry on with the Lives of Gethra podcast for a bit. I'll read another maybe 2 chapters, and then we'll see if we can get some interaction going and do some world building, community world building. um, so if you're new, basically I've got this web series. I should have actually just pulled this all up last time. So let me just show you guys here. So this is the Lives of Gethra website. And on here, I've got everything set up for a few years of writing that I did, where we've got different characters and they have different perspectives into the world. And each day or whenever there would be a new post, and the story would just kind of unfold from there. There was no beginning, middle, or end. It was just kind of a snapshot of these characters' lives in the world of Gethra. A few things made it unique. First off, it was set in real time. So as the story unfolded, like between this chapter, which is the 21st of the first moon, and the 19th of the first moon, there would have actually been 2 days of real time that passed before this later chapter went live. And so that was one way that I kind of played with the pacing and kind of offset it from what a lot of normal kind of books, like, if you pick up a book in chapters, chances are it jumps ahead a bit in time here and there, or the entire story fits into a short time frame. But I thought it'd be really cool with Lives of Gethra. It was kind of an experiment from the beginning, and so I wanted to see what would a story be like if it unfolded with a realistic amount of time. So if let's pull back up this map here so I can give you guys another example here. So if it would have taken, we're going to see coming up here that in Vaynuth's story, for example, she's traveling from Rainrest to Nokair. And so we're going to find out, like a certain amount of time will pass. And if that's, 2 or 3 days, well, then the next story where she's in Nokair will be 2 or 3 days later. I don't know if that's exactly what happens with Vaynuth because it's been so long since I wrote it. But we'll delve into that as I continue the podcast. So that's one example of how the real time would change the storytelling, where if a character's journey takes them a year or 2 years, it would actually take a year or 2 years to unfold. Of course, there's a lot of adventure and nuance that happens along the way, and friendships that are forged or broken, and there's just a lot. It's just a different take on storytelling. So then the next thing that is, on the note of it being set in real time, I did set it up so that people could access the whole story chronologically. So if you want to read all of Gethra, you could go onto the website here and click year 1478 and scroll down. You see here, this is the end of the year. You could scroll all the way down to the start of the year, and you could just read through chapter by chapter chronologically. That's kind of how my approach will be for the podcast. I'm just going to be going chronologically. So yesterday I read Vaynuth 1, Dago 1, and Vaynuth 2. And so today we'll move on to Renato 1 and Dago 2. The other way that you could read Gethra is you could just choose one storyline to read. Sometimes the storylines may intersect or influence each other, but quite often it's more just how they impact the world around them that is felt, across the storylines. As I mentioned earlier on the stream, here in Elakar we have Dago, and Vaynuth is all the way over here, thousands of miles away. So it's unlikely that they will run into each other anytime soon. It would take months to travel that distance, even on horseback. And so, they will it's unlikely that they would cross paths. Do they? You'll have to tune in and see as the story unfolds. But the idea behind Gethra was to just give the readers snapshots of these lives in the world of Gethra, and see how those unfold. And so the other way that you could read Gethra, instead of going chronologically, you could read Gethra also by just an individual character. So you could say, oh, I listened to the stream yesterday and Dago sounded really interesting, but I wasn't that into Vaynuth. Well, that's fine. You could read just Dago, and so you could just go Dago 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. I'm going to be setting up on my other platforms like YouTube, and we'll have the podcast kind of going as well. We're going to have those kind of, it'll be clear which character is which and separate, and there'll be playlists and stuff, so you can just listen to the character that you want, if you want, or you can do everything chronologically. The second thing that made Gethra unique, or makes Gethra unique, is the way that players interact with it. So for Lives of Gethra, there was individual players for each character. So if you look in here, we can go down to character waiting list, and players would have been able to actually sign up. There was a comment section here that players would be able to sign up, and then eventually they would get to play a role in the story. And we can also look at the credits page here, and you can see their names. So there's our cast of characters, different people from real life who wanted to take on the role of these characters. So that meant that as the writer, I was kind of just writing, developing the settings and detail and dialogue, and figuring out how to tell the story realistically based on the decisions that they were making. So if you guys ever hear me talking about, the players' decisions and stuff like that, well, that's, kind of how it worked. I would message them and say, hey, Vaynuth got offered this job. Does she take it or does she turn it down? And, my friend who is playing Vaynuth would decide what they're going to do. So my hope is that eventually I'll be able to continue Lives of Gethra, and we'll have probably some sort of name in the box we can draw out to see who will be the next character. But this is the kind of thing that I'm going to be doing on a smaller scale with the world building. So later on in the stream here, we'll look at we'll look at that world map of Gethra, and we'll look at a timeline that I've got, and we'll kind of flesh out some of the history and have you guys, the viewers, get to choose, what those characters will do. So we'll get to that later. I just thought I should do a bit more in-depth explanation of how Gethra worked. And so this is all publicly available here. You can check it out there. You can, check out the physical books on Amazon if you want. I always appreciate this support. But I like to have this site free. I think it's kind of just, these stories are not just mine. They're also, the people who have contributed ideas to them. Yeah. So that's the Lives of Gethra website there. So move that back over there. All right, so let's dive into one of the storylines here. So we're going to want the map. This is what I was trying to have set up yesterday, and then I kind of goofed it. There we go. So I think we're reading first. Yes, Renato chapter 1. So we're going to have to open up some files here. I do not have artwork of Renato. And I didn't address that yesterday. I'm sorry about that. So let me just show you guys these artworks as well. So yesterday we read Dago. So there's a depiction of Dago, and then Vaynuth. And there's also some other ones. We haven't encountered this character yet. We haven't encountered him yet. And we haven't encountered them yet either. Now, if you guys like this artwork, you can check out the artist's page. Her name is Shayna Wiarta. If you look her up on Google, or I can provide a link in chat sometime if anyone's interested. Yeah, she's been kind of working with me on the series for a while, and so that's the kind of artwork that's on the book covers. You can see Vaynuth there. Kind of just, unlike most book covers, I don't have the title there. I just kind of put it on the back because I thought it would be cool. Each book is just the year's events, and so I thought it would be kind of cool just to show off the artwork. It looks great. So there we go. But yeah, so for some of the characters I have artwork because I needed book covers, and for some of them I don't yet. So we're going to be kind of switching in and out when we do have artwork.